Hey guys, welcome back to Big Gav Sports Talk. I am your host, Big Gav, and I wanted to start off this next video by giving a huge thank you to everyone that tuned into last week's Jacksonville Jaguars video. The video has over 700 views now, and I wasn't expecting 100 people to check it out, let alone 700 plus. So for that, I have to say I am honestly floored, but so thankful at the same time that people out there actually find my content entertaining. So again, thank you so much. The feedback for the most part was overwhelmingly positive, and I couldn't be more grateful. Like I said, another big thank you to anyone and everyone that left a comment, as well as suggestions for future videos. There were a few suggestions, and I'm happy to add those teams to the list, but I already had a list going, and I planned on doing every single team, but the ones that were suggested definitely got moved up the list. Please keep the comments coming because I genuinely do enjoy the interactions. And to all the Jaguars fans that subscribed over this past week, I want to welcome you to the channel. I hope that you find the future content that comes out here is still appealing, even though you're might be strictly a Jaguars fan. And I hope that's enough to keep your interest in the coming months. So stay tuned for more NFL content coming out every week here at Big Gav Sports Talk. Now, for anyone that is new to the channel and doesn't know, I'm currently on a quest to cover and or recap every offseason from every NFL team within the next few months. Now, did they improve, get slightly better, stay the same, or just completely implode? These reviews will include everything from acquisitions and departures to trades, the draft, and of course my own personal analysis as well as expectations. I've been a fan of the NFL and watching football for roughly the last 2 decades and finally thought it was time to throw my opinions out there to see how they stack up against everybody else in the football world. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the action with yet another AFC team poised to make a lot of noise next season. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with the Los Angeles Chargers 2022 free agency. Can I start off by saying how cool the LA Chargers schedule release video was this year? I mean, that easily had to be the best release of any team out there by far this year. You know, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, I'll go ahead and put a link to the Chargers official YouTube account in the description below so you guys can give it a watch. But to anyone who has seen it, I mean, how cool was that, right? I mean, it's only about 2 minutes of your time. Even if you're not a fan of anime, you should still be blown away with the production value that went into making something like that because they only had 30 days to put that together. And now I'm sure there are some people out there going, what the hell is anime? I've never heard of that. What is this shit, right? And you know, that's fair. I'm sure not everyone is familiar with the term, so to put it simply, anime is a type of film and television animation that is extremely popular in Japan, and I think it's growing in the United States a little bit if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not up on anime popularity, so that's just a guess. But some examples that you may have heard of include Naruto, Attack on Titan, and One Piece. Those are just all ones that I've heard of and have possibly seen in the past. I can't be too sure, but it was very cool, very unique. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable from start to finish, and be sure to go give it a watch right after you finish this video. Now, it shouldn't come to any football fan's surprise to know that the LA Chargers have been one of the unluckiest teams in the NFL over the last few years. You know, it's almost difficult to keep track of how many one-score games the Chargers have lost in just the last 2 seasons alone, and this isn't including all of the tough losses Phillip Rivers took either. You know, some may think the idea of lucky and unlucky aren't real, but there are plenty of examples throughout the history of the NFL that could prove otherwise. You know, just a few examples I have written down of the many, many plays throughout NFL history include the Immaculate Reception, the helmet catch, the Music City Miracle, the Minneapolis Miracle, the second half comeback by the Patriots in Super Bowl 56, the 28-3 jokes that seemingly never die. Hell, Justin Tucker's NFL record-breaking 68-yard game-winning field goal against Detroit last year. I mean, that had a bit of luck sprinkled in there, didn't it? And I'm sure Cowboys fans will remember this one all too well. Tony Romo fumbles the snap. Like, how many times had Tony Romo taken snaps and holds before but decided to fumble at that moment? I mean, there's got to be some luck involved there, right? Presumably bad luck at the very least. But when it comes to the LA Chargers, just how many games have they lost by 1 score? Because that's pretty unlucky. Now, I'm classifying 1-score games as a margin of 8 points because I know that some people like to do 6 and 7, but we're going to go ahead and stick with 8 for this example. Now, are there any guesses out there as to how many games the Chargers have lost over the last 2 seasons by 8 points or less? Any guesses at all? Well, if you said 12, you'd be correct. Now, imagine that for a moment. 12 losses just over the last 2 seasons alone. Now, when you lose 17 games and 12 of them are by a touchdown or less, you have to start thinking at some point that your franchise is either severely unlucky or probably cursed, right? Now, another interesting statistic that might be heartbreaking to hear as a Chargers fan is that those 1-score losses accounted for 70% of all defeats suffered in that stretch. You know, it just goes to show that the game of football truly is a game of inches, and having just a couple plays go your way can drastically change the course of not only a single game, but the entirety of a season. And you know, that's the fine line between winning and losing. and it sure as hell must be a tough pill to swallow regardless of who you are. Now, it may sound like this is starting to turn into a sort of pity party for the Lightning Bolts, but let me tell you, I couldn't be more excited to talk about these guys and the moves that they're making. I think LA saw what their big brother, the LA Rams, did last offseason and finally put their foot down as if to say enough is enough, right? If they can splurge on free agents and go to a Super Bowl and win one, why can't we do that? Why can't we play this same game? Well, I think they are. I think they took that to heart. And man, I tell you what, I had a pretty good analogy here in my notes. You guys go ahead and let me know what you think. But to me, the LA Chargers went from that scrawny, geeky-looking freshman in high school who, he's cool with everybody, but they kind of talk shit about him behind his back. He's got some jokes, but doesn't really talk much. And nobody has a real problem with him, but when he's not there, they talk behind his back and all this other stuff. But say that kid leaves for the summer, right? He leaves, goes on summer vacation, shows back up to school in the fall, and he's just completely shredded. I mean, this kid is cut from head to toe, confidence through the roof, ready to prove everybody wrong. He's going out to be the starting varsity running back as a sophomore. The O-line coach is going bananas, drooling at the sight of this kid because he wants him to be all-state, right? That's genuinely what it feels like happened to the Chargers for me. Things are starting to change for the better, and they look like they could be poised to bust through that door as a changed man. But in all seriousness, let's go ahead and get into the finer details of who LA brought in to up their social cred. Let's take a dive into the 2022 Los Angeles Chargers offseason, starting with one of my favorite players on the entire roster. Let's kick things off with one of my favorite receivers in the entire league, Mike Williams. Now, Mike is a former round pick by the team from 2017 out of Clemson. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, and will pull in any and all jump balls he can get his hands on. Now, there were some questions this offseason as to whether or not LA would offer Williams a contract, and of course this started up the rumor mill with the Browns, the Jaguars, and the Jets emerging as the favorites to land the stud wideout if he were to leave Los Angeles. Now, thankfully, the Chargers are not the New York Giants and know when to give out a lot of money when it comes to the wide receiver position, and Williams returned to the City of Angels on a 3-year, $60 million deal with $40 million fully guaranteed. Now, Mike was rated as the league's 23rd best wide receiver last year, according to Pro Football Focus, coming away with 76 catches, 1,100 receiving yards on 122 targets while hauling in 9 touchdowns. Now, to some, myself included, Williams seems like he might be a bit low on the PFF totem pole, but when you realize that he has to share the field with the likes of Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, you see how some of his touches may come up missing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because Allen and Eckler are great players in their own right, but league's top 25 wideouts has been something special to witness. It's almost inspiring, because when you watch this guy play, you see someone who plays for the love of the game, and that feels like a lost art in today's NFL. And that's not to say that this kind of mentality is rare, but it's certainly less common, and it feels like it used to be, so for that, it's certainly a refreshing take when talking about a player's approach to the game, at least. I know we hear it all the time from old heads, it seems, this player or these players today don't have the same heart that they used to, and similar things of that nature have been said time and time and time again. But when you listen to this guy in interviews and you watch him in practice and on the field, he's everything you want in a young wideout. He's a grinder, he's a student of the game, and he's slowly but surely becoming one of the best jump ball catchers in the entire league. Now, it would have been an absolute travesty, and I mean an absolute travesty, to deprive Justin Herbert of another weapon, especially one as consistent as Mike Williams, so it really warms my heart to see an organization like the Chargers reward Williams with this type of contract for all of his hard work and dedication to his craft. It's not every day that you have things work out for both sides, but I truly believe that the Chargers made the best move possible in bringing him back. The fans are going to thank you, the coaching staff is going to thank you, and his teammates should be thrilled to see him back in the locker room for another 3 years in that powder blue. I couldn't be more excited to see this guy continue to grow, and who knows, he might be looking at a top 15 spot on the wide receiver leaderboard before season's end. Don't be shocked. Watch out for Mike Williams to put up career numbers this year with his young QB slinging that football. Now, this next signing may come as a surprise to some, and Charger fans may be split on the team's decision to bring back kicker Dustin Hopkins on a 3-year, $10 million extension worth up to $12 million, including incentives. Dustin didn't start off the year as the Los Angeles kicker, but found himself claimed off of waivers by the Chargers in between weeks 6 and 7 of last year. Chargers' current kicker at the time, Tristan Vizcaino, he had struggled throughout the first 6 weeks of the season, missing 5 extra point attempts as well as a field goal in that stretch. So the Chargers, who have had kicker after kicker after kicker on their roster over the last few years, thought it was probably time for yet another change, so they brought in Hopkins for what they were hoping to be some stability. Hopkins comes over from Washington, where he was a 7-year veteran of the squad, but was surprisingly cut just 6 weeks into the 2021 season, going 22 of 26 on kicking attempts up to that point in time. Now, Hopkins has a career kick percentage of 84.6%, but that didn't stop stop the Chargers from taking a flyer on him. What did he do with this opportunity? Well, he proceeded to have the best 11-game stretch of his entire career, going 48 of 52, nailing 90% of his kicks for the remainder of the season. And the Deadskins sure are looking foolish now, aren't they? Now, the thing for me is that this is only a great signing if he's able to continue that same success he had last year, but let me be very clear. As a Bears fan, I can tell you that when you have a kicker, you don't notice it, but when you don't have a kicker, that shit will make you sweat every single Sunday. So I'm sure Charger fans are weary to get behind any kicker at this point.
And here it comes down one more time to a kicker after all the battle that's been waged out here tonight.
As it so often does. 43-yard attempt from the right hash mark. The upright again. That's impossible.
Damn, that still hurts to watch. But I think that the Chargers should, be happy to have this guy back on a multi-year contract. I'm excited to see if he continues to improve on his new team or if that kicking percentage comes back down to earth, because let's remember, Dustin was playing out of his mind last season, like I just said. And to see a team start to get some help at the kicker position after years and years of hardship, I love to see it. I wish nothing but good luck next year for Mr. Hopkins, and I hope Charger fans can finally rest knowing they have a consistent leg on the roster moving forward. This next one stings a little bit, but it needs to be talked about, so let's go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off right here. The Chargers made a blockbuster move, sending a 2022 second-round pick and a 2023 sixth-round pick to the Chicago Bears for former All-Pro edge rusher Kahlil Mack. Now, first of all, as a Bears fan, how do I feel about this? I actually don't mind the move, really. I actually welcome it, believe it or not. It actually feels good to move his contract off the books despite Mack being an absolute beast for us for the first 3 years he was here. After coming off of an injury-riddled season and the Bears looking to rebuild yet again, it seems as though the writing was on the wall for Chi-Town to ship the grizzled vet somewhere else. More importantly, what does this mean for Los Angeles? I can tell you that you're getting a guy who will show out and give it everything that he has on every single play he's on the field, but I think that's the key, when he's on the field. You hope that last season was a fluke and that it was just a string of unfortunate injuries that happened to him, but before last year and the 3 seasons leading up to it, Kahlil was able to accumulate 144 total tackles, 30 sacks, 14 forced fumbles, 6 recoveries, a pair of interceptions, a safety, and a touchdown. Yeah, the guy is a one-man wrecking ball. He's ready to cause mayhem at a moment's notice. I could promise you this, if Mack is healthy and ready to go week 1, the Rams better look out, because little brother is coming for you, and they're looking to take over Los Angeles.
They're 4 wide here on 3rd and goal. Again, the pump fake, and this time he will get sacked, lose the ball, and Mack took the ball away. Kahlil Mack. 50 seconds, 3rd and 19. And this time he's going to go down. It's going to be picked off by Mack. Mack with the interception, and Mack will take it all the way in for a touchdown. How crazy was that?
I think even at the age of 31, Mack has a lot left to offer, even on an already loaded Chargers defense. Let's not forget that this guy was the #1 ranked edge rusher according to Pro Football Focus just 2 years ago. And now you're going to pair him up with another top 10 edge rusher in Joey Bosa?
3rd down and 6. Pressure coming. Ball comes out. Joey Bosa able to knock it away. Let's see who's recovered it.
On the 17-yard line. Look out again. And a huge sack by Joey Bosa.
A guy who's coming off of another double-digit sack season and his 3rd Pro Bowl selection in a row. Man, if I'm a quarterback, and I play the Chargers this season, I am afraid. I am very, very afraid. I think that Kahlil Mack could easily, and I mean easily, rejuvenate his career with the Chargers here. The one and only thing that concerns me is his health. If he can stay on the field, the Chargers have a chance to become one of the most dominant defenses of the last 20 years, and I truly believe that. I truly believe that in part of the next signing we're going to discuss, and that is former New England Patriot cornerback J.C. Jackson. Now, Jackson signed with the LA Chargers on a 5-year, $82.5 million contract, including a $25 million signing bonus and $40 million in guaranteed money. Now, to some, this may come as a bit of a surprise. The Patriots were not willing to sign Jackson to an extension off of his rookie contract, and they could all but watch their all-pro corner walk out the door, essentially. You know, we know he wanted to stay there. He made it abundantly clear to everyone in that organization and on social media. Essentially, he told the world that he was all about staying put with the Patriots. But let's not forget who runs the show over there in Foxborough. You know, it's been noted time after time that if Big Bill doesn't think you're worth the money, then you're probably going to get the boot straight out of town. Now, has this strategy worked for him in the past? Sure. But now that Tom Brady is gone and you're going into your third year without him, are you really in a position to let guys as talented as J.C. Jackson just walk out the door? You know, I find this move questionable at best coming from the Patriots side of things, but I don't know. It seems to me like Belichick may be starting to lose his touch a bit because the Chargers are getting one of the best DBs in the entire league. You know, it might not have seemed that way just a couple years ago, but Jackson truly had a breakout season last year with New England. It was the first time in his career that he started every single game of the season, and he certainly made the most of it. You know, he accounted for 3 interceptions, 12 pass breakups, and a pick 6 on 23 targets, only allowing 6 passes to be caught on him when dropping back into man coverage. You know, he also had another 5 interceptions when dropping back into zone coverage to bring his total for the year up to 8, as well as a forced fumble and 3 recoveries. This is all according to Pro Football Focus. Now we come to the big question, the elephant in the room. Is he worth nearly $17 million a season over the next 5 years? I like to think so. You know, you have a young, outstanding stud of a quarterback in Justin Herbert who is still on his rookie contract for the next 2 seasons. The Chargers are doing exactly what they need to be doing to give their young guy the best chance of success. You know, we know the offense is there. We know the Bolts can put up 40-plus points on any given night. But when the defense gives up 41, it doesn't really matter that you dropped 40, right? So looking at the way things are now, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if anyone put up 41 points on the Chargers next season. Okay, and that's saying something after some of the shootouts we witnessed them in last year. But let's take the last 4 games of the season last year for an example, right? In those 4 games, the Chargers went 1-3. Their lone win coming against a struggling Broncos team whom they thoroughly defeated 34-13. But in those other 3 games, the Chargers defense allowed their opponents to average a whopping 37 points per game over that stretch. Now, you don't need to be a statistician to know that giving up 37 points in the game of football is not good, because frankly, that sucks. And that's why I think adding a lockdown guy like Jackson who can consistently go and take on opponent's best receiver is so crucial, right? This should be considered an absolute steal by the Chargers this offseason, if anything. You know, LA knew where their weak points were going to be this offseason. They knew that they probably should have been a playoff team last year, and missing out on the chance to compete on the NFL's biggest stage over an overtime game-winning field goal in the regular season finale off the foot of a division rival, that has to be a tough pill to swallow. You know, the most important thing here is that it seems the Chargers are learning from their mistakes, because being able to pair JC with the likes of Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James, shit, man. Look out for the Chargers this year, guys. This team excites me the more and more I talk about them. You know, I really feel like I'm talking the Chargers into being one of the most complete teams in the entire league right now, and I just can't help it. You know, I just look at their roster. I mean, damn, J.C. Jackson, the improvements aren't going to stop with this guy. I'm telling you, he's only 26 years of age. He's only going to keep getting better. Keep an extra close eye on him and the rest of the Lightning Bolts defense this year, and watch the magic happen. Now, here's one of the most what I believe to be under-the-radar moves of the 2022 offseason. The Chargers were able to snag former LA Rams nose tackle and Super Bowl champion Sebastian Joseph-Day. Now, it's no secret that the Chargers struggled against the run last year, so how do you patch up a defensive line that's struggling to stop literally anyone willing to bring the ball across the line of scrimmage? Well, you go out and you sign one of the best young interior defensive linemen that the market has to offer. You know, Sebastian Joseph-Day, or SJD, as some like to call him, agreed to terms with the Chargers on a 3-year contract worth $24 million. Now, not only are you getting a run stuffer on a solid contract, but you also crippled your big brother by taking away a concrete piece of their Super Bowl winning defense. Now the Rams will have to adjust, missing not only SJD, but Von Miller as well. You know, not to mention that OBJ still hasn't signed back with the team yet. We'll save the Rams for a future video. So Joseph-Day, in only 6 games last year before suffering an injury to his pectoral muscle in Week 7, was seen as the best run stopper in the entire league. His 15.7% run stop rate ranked first among all interior defensive linemen with at least 100 defensive run snaps, according to Pro Football Focus. So remember when we discussed Kahlil Mack and Joey Bosa working together up front? Well, now this guy is going to be joining the fun. And I'm not sure about you, but the rest of the AFC West should be in the fetal position by about now, the next time that they have to play the LA Chargers. Now, being a run stuffer isn't a glamorous job. Sure, you get some tackles for loss and some sacks, but those don't come by as often as one might think. The majority of the time, your job is to take up as much space as possible, essentially, and to bounce that running back outside or at least off his given path. Now, for those of you who saw my last video, you know that I don't pay as close attention to the draft as the next guy. Now, it's not that I don't find the draft entertaining, because I do. I just, I think it makes for good television. I like watching the analysts like Mel Kiper and Joe Klatt, but when it comes to the actual game of college football, I don't find myself as invested in it when compared to the NFL. If college football is on, I'll check it out, but if I'm doing something, I'm probably not going to be as invested. So whereas the NFL, I find myself, setting aside time to watch these games. So for that reason alone, there's only 2 guys that I'd like to mention from the Chargers draft. So in the first round of the NFL draft, the LA Chargers selected guard Zion Johnson out of Boston College with the 17th overall pick. And there's not really too much to say about Johnson other than he's obviously going to make an immediate impact week 1 as a starter. He's big, he's solid, he's sound, and he's going to be another great addition to that Chargers offensive line coming up next year. Okay, you pair him up with Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, who you drafted last year in the first round, along with Corey Linsley, who, other than Creed Humphrey from the Kansas City Chiefs last year, was rated as the best center in the entire league. Okay, it's almost frightening to think of the possibilities this team could end up working with on offense. The playbook has to be wide open for Brandon Staley and company right now, and I'm very excited and invested to see where they take this team come September. The Chargers also drafted Austin Eckler some help in the 4th round of the NFL draft, taking running back Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. My initial take after watching his highlights is that, man, does this kid have the ability to find the hole. I mean, his ability to read the defense as a college player is already pushing pro levels, right? Now, he's also an incredible pass catcher out of the backfield. He's as consistent as they come. And I found out since 2019, he actually led the entire SEC with 2,993 rushing yards, including 1,844 yards after contact. Now, that also led the entire conference. I think that Spiller could be thrown into the mix as early as the Chargers want in his rookie season. I mean, it just all depends on how much of the workload you want to put on Austin Eckler. Great pickup by the Chargers here. Now, the last guy that I want to talk about was an undrafted signing. And that, of course, anybody that knows me, I worked at the University of Illinois for about 3 years. I've gone to countless football, basketball games, hockey games over there. And this guy was definitely one of the best quarterbacks to be there since, not only had been working there, but watching games over the past decade plus. And that would be quarterback Brandon Peters. Undrafted by the LA Chargers. It's really cool to see a guy that I personally got to watch and meet at one point, who played at the university in which I worked for many years. He finally made it to the league. I'm really happy for him. I know that he's entering the summer as the 4th guy on the depth chart, but I would absolutely love to see him move up to 3 right behind Chase Daniel and continue to learn under him on the Chargers and Justin Herbert. And maybe in the future an opportunity arises that maybe on another team he gets a chance to be a backup, second string, or even the starter. I have no idea what his ceiling is. All I know is that it's really exciting to see this guy in the league, and I wish him nothing but success. Brandon, if you ever see this video, man, know that I'm pulling for you and that I wish you nothing but the best in your NFL career. Now, last year, the LA Chargers finished the season at 9-8, so this season is going to be pretty tough to predict because the AFC West is just so fucking stacked, but I'm going to try my best here. Okay, I believe the LA Chargers will go 12-5 in the upcoming season. Now, I know it sounds like the Chargers could be better than that, and they might be, but knowing that the division is so loaded to the brim with talent on the Chiefs, Broncos, and Raiders, respectively, it might be tough to get 12 wins, let alone more than that. Now, although I am extremely high on the defense, I'm also high on other defenses within the division or players on the defenses in that division, so only time is going to tell when it comes to that if what I said about the Chargers being a historically great defense this upcoming year actually comes to fruition. But overall, I really like the aggressive approach to free agency and that they took what the Rams did last year and are going to go ahead and give it a shot with their young quarterback so that they can't say down the road, well, we'll never know. Right? That's the worst thing you could do. Right now in the month of May, 4 months before the regular season begins, you want me to predict how a team is going to perform? I'm going to tell you your guess is as good as mine. So there it is. I think the Chargers break out this year and finally get into the playoffs, and we can see what Justin Herbert and company can finally do. But you've heard my thoughts. I'm interested to see what you guys think of the LA Chargers and their offseason moves. As always, please let me hear about it in the comments below. I'll be checking them every single day this week, so don't be shy. Also, let me know if you liked the video, if you thought my takes were hot garbage, or if you want to just give me your 2 cents in the box below. I really would appreciate it. Now, for anyone that stuck around to this point, I'm going to leave you with a music video produced by a good friend of mine, Grant Roof. If you guys could go give him a sub, I know he would appreciate it, and I would as well. So before I play that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like as well as subscribe for more NFL content. I really appreciate every single one of you. You are the real MVP. My name is Big Gav, and I'll leave you with the Outliers and their rendition of Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Peace.